I swear, this still haunts me every time I turn off the lights. I once rented a house that was so cheap, it didn't even make sense. The landlord said just one thing before handing me the keys: never open the last room at the end of the hallway. I thought he was joking. But on the very first night, I heard something scratching the wall from inside that room. It wasn't a rat. It wasn't the wind. That sound had rhythm, like someone breathing. I set up a camera to see what it was. The next morning, when I checked the footage, I saw myself in the video, standing up in the middle of the night, walking straight toward the lens, and smiling. I never did that. And that was just the first night. You think I'm making this up? Just wait and see. If you're brave enough to hear the rest of this story, hit subscribe right now, because I'm about to tell you how I was forced to leave that house. I moved into that house on a cold, rainy afternoon. The whole street was silent, like it had been abandoned. No kids. No barking dogs. Just a rusted "For Rent" sign, and a man already waiting for me. He was the landlord, tall, thin, with sunken eyes that looked like they hadn't seen sleep in years. He barely spoke, his voice raspy, like someone was squeezing his throat. I asked, "Is there anything special about this house?" He just smiled and said, "No, just don't open the last room at the end of the hallway." I thought he was trying to mess with me. But why were his hands shaking when he handed me the keys? Inside, the house smelled of damp and rot. The wallpaper was peeling, and there were deep scratches, like fingernail marks, on the wooden doors. I turned on the lights, but only the living room bulb flickered to life. Every other room stayed dark, as if the power had been cut on purpose. Can you believe I even found my own name faintly carved into the wooden table, even though I'd never been there before? Who could have done that before me? That first night, the scratching came back. I knocked back at the wall, and the sound stopped. Then, a few seconds later, something knocked back. 3 times. Like it was saying, "I hear you." I told myself it was just my imagination. But the next morning, I found the front door security camera had been turned around, facing inside the house. Who did that? I was supposed to be living alone. Have you ever stayed in a house that seemed alive, like it was watching you? If you've ever felt that chill, like someone's eyes were on you from behind the walls, comment, "I know that feeling, so I know I'm not crazy." By the third night, I couldn't sleep anymore. The scratching sounds had turned into footsteps. Slow. Clear. Right above my bedroom ceiling. I climbed up to the attic to check, but it was covered in thick layers of dust. No one could have been up there for years. So whose footsteps were those? I set up a camera in the corner of the room, pointing straight at the last door down the hallway. Every time I looked into the lens, I felt like something was staring back. I swear the shadow in that footage kept changing positions. Sometimes it stood right next to the door. Sometimes it vanished completely. Have you ever seen something on a camera that made your heart drop into your stomach? On the 5th night, I woke up in the middle of the night. The lights were still off, but the TV in the living room had turned on by itself. The screen showed only one sentence in white letters: "Don't leave me alone." I threw the remote, unplugged the TV, but it stayed on. I screamed. Then I heard laughter, not my voice, not anyone else's. It sounded like it was echoing from inside the walls. I started to doubt myself. I placed cameras all over the house, determined to find the truth. The next morning, I played back the footage. And my heart nearly stopped. In the video, I saw myself sleeping. Then, the me in the video suddenly sat up, walked toward the camera, stared straight into the lens, and smiled. That smile wasn't mine. It couldn't have been mine. Would you have the guts to finish watching that video if it were you? I couldn't take it anymore. The next morning, I went straight to the landlord's house and pounded on his door. He opened it, his eyes wide with fear, like he already knew what had happened. I screamed, "What's in that house? What are you hiding from me?" His hands shook. He could barely speak. Then, in a broken whisper, he said, "You weren't supposed to stay there after the first week." The first week? Why only the first week? I forced him to tell me the truth. He finally admitted that the house once belonged to a man who went missing 3 years ago. That man lived alone. He also rented the same house, and then vanished without a trace. The moment I heard that, my whole body went cold. Because on that old wooden table in the house, my name was carved into it. And the missing man's name? It was exactly the same as mine. Coincidence? Or was the house repeating the same story, with a new victim each time? That night, I heard someone whisper my name, from inside the wall. The voice sounded exactly like me. I grabbed a hammer and smashed the wall open. Dust fell like snow. Then I saw it, a small gap, leading into the locked room at the end of the hallway. I shined my flashlight inside, and nearly passed out. The walls were covered in photos of me, sleeping. Each picture labeled by night. Night 1. Night 2. Night 3. Night 8 was empty. No photo. That blank space was waiting for the next picture. Mine. Tell me, do you think someone could be living inside your walls right now? The moment I touched the edge of that hidden doorway, every light in the house went out. The air turned thick, like something invisible was squeezing the oxygen out of the room. Then I heard footsteps, but they weren't coming from me. They were coming from inside the wall, from that locked room, moving closer, step by step. Have you ever heard footsteps that sound exactly like your own, coming from right behind you? I pointed my flashlight forward. The beam flickered weakly. And then, a shadow stood in the middle of the room, its back turned toward me. I said, "Who's there?" Silence. Then the figure turned around, and it was me. Not a reflection. Not a trick of light. Another version of me, with a twisted grin and eyes blackened like burnt glass. I slammed the door shut, but it burst open again, like someone had yanked it from the other side. Then I heard my own voice whisper, "Don't leave me here." I ran. Every light in the hallway flicked on one after another, following my footsteps, as if something was running with me. I burst out the front door into the pouring rain. Behind me, the house began to shake, a deep, guttural roar echoing through its walls. I turned back, and saw my silhouette standing in the doorway, smiling slowly. Then every light in the house went out at once. If it were you, would you stop and look back, or would you just keep running? I never went back. That night, I drove for hours, through rain and darkness, and I still don't know if I escaped that house. Or if I'm still running from the version of myself that stayed behind. It's been 2 years since that night. I never went back to that house. But every time I drive past that old street, I still feel eyes watching me from the dark. They said the house was demolished, too unsafe to stand. But last night, when I passed by that empty lot, I saw a faint light glowing right in the middle of where the house used to be. Who turns on a light in a house that no longer exists? I've tried to forget everything. Changed my number. Moved to another city. But some nights, I still get texts from an unknown number. I miss that room. No name. No contact. Just that sentence. And after every message, I hear 3 knocks on the wall. 3 knocks. Exactly like the first night I moved into that house. Do you think someone can follow you, even after the house they lived in is gone? I've started to wonder if the person in the wall was ever real, or just the dark part of myself I left behind. If you've ever felt like your memories don't belong to you anymore, comment, "I understand, so I know I'm not crazy." And if you're watching this video in the dark, take a look around. Maybe you'll see a flicker of light, coming from a room you don't remember opening. If you want to hear more strange and chilling Reddit stories, hit subscribe right now, because the next video will make you think twice before sleeping alone in the dark.